Welcome to Weekday Faith, short messages to strengthen your walk with Christ. Because faith isn't just for Sundays, it's for every day of the week.
Welcome to Weekday Faith. We are continuing our series in the Beatitudes. We are in Beatitude 4, one of my favorites. I may say that about all of them. I don't know. But this is, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. They will be filled. I love that promise. They will be filled. And when we look at this hunger and thirst, I mean, it is what it is. We know what it is to hunger. We know what it is to thirst. I can remember one time in my life, you get thirsty. I can remember though one time after a soccer game when I was a kid, I had never been so thirsty. And I don't think I've ever been that thirsty since. But I was like, get me something to drink now. And the waiting for that drink was torturous. I just thought, this is horrible. I have never had that. That is the one time, I'm 51, that I have had the thought of, or the feeling of intense thirst to that degree. I think that this is part of the power of fasting from food. I think all kinds of fastings are good. Media fasting. I know Daniel fasting is really big right now, which is fine if you can't do a full fast. I think if you have the ability physically to do a full water fast, no food, that it is going to be one of the most significant times. It truly teaches us how dependent we are on food and water. It teaches us what it really is to hunger and to thirst. And I think that's a helpful knowledge to have. Beyond it helping us to identify with people that live in that state of hunger and thirst in the physical, it gives us compassion. And some understanding maybe a little bit, but not really, because we know we could at any time go and get that food and water. I think, though, the application for us spiritually is so good to have experienced some hunger and some thirsting and the natural to show us what it is to hunger and to thirst for something spiritually. When you are hungry and especially thirsty, I think, to that degree, you will not stop until you have that. It is what completely drives you to obtain the goal of water, to have that kind of level of hunger and thirst. Nothing will get in your way. You will remove every obstacle to receiving what you need for that hunger and that thirst. And so spiritually, to hunger and to thirst for righteousness, we know we've been made righteous in Jesus. He is our righteousness. But just to take for a few minutes that definition of righteousness, I think is helpful for us to really understand what Jesus has provided for us. And in this definition, it says, the act of doing what is in agreement with God's standards, the state of being in proper relationship with Jesus. So we know that it is only with Jesus that we can be in right relationship with God. His sacrifice is what made us right. So that justification comes through Jesus. But then we have to live this out. We have to live out a life of righteousness. And I think that's that continual act of continuing to strive in a good way, not in a way that is defeating, but there should be something in us that wants to do things God's way, according to God's standards. And so to hunger and thirst after living my life in accordance with God's standard, it should drive us in that way that hungering and thirsting does, to the point that we're removing obstacles to things that keep us from aligning our lives to God's standards. I'm thinking even we have a wedding coming up, and this couple, they're getting married. They want to make things right in their lives with the Lord. Why? What are they doing? They are doing this. They are coming into agreement by getting married with God's standard in their life. So that is them choosing after hungering and thirsting for righteousness, then they are doing the act that is required as a result of it. In the end here, the promise is that we will be filled with righteousness. We will be filled with all that we need to be righteous and just before God. But I think that there is something we receive from God when we hunger and thirst to do things His way. There's a pleasure that He receives. For me, I find that to be the ultimate act of worship that I give to Him. It's easy to sing songs on Sunday morning with everybody. It's another thing then to walk out of the sanctuary into the chaos and life mess and strive to align my life with God's standards. That is the ultimate act of worship. I think that is what brings God the most pleasure, when He sees that we hunger and thirst for Him in such a way that we want to do all that we can to walk in His ways, to walk according to Him. And He promises then to fill us to the overflow. That word to be filled there, to be filled with righteousness, is to be gorged. I know we all have sat after a meal like, I can't eat another bite. And to be so filled with the righteousness of God. There's no room for shame from previous lifestyle. There's no room for condemnation from the enemy on how we may or may not have failed. There is only room for His acceptance, for His righteousness. And when we are running after God's ways, there's such peace and joy. In Isaiah, he says that, if you had just gone the way that I had laid out for you, you would have been filled with peace. You would have been filled. It is the way of peace. Shalom. So as we are actually, summer months are great months. It's so much easier to fast in the summer when it's not the cold dead of winter. But maybe even take a day this week and have a day where you fast as much as you can and just partake of water and see how that affects your body. And then to use that and say, God, am I hungering? Am I thirsting to this level after your ways? Am I striving? Am I running after doing things your way like I could be if I had this hunger and this thirst driving me? So it's not a point of discouragement. It's a point of encouragement, because it's not this carrot dangling in front of us that we're chasing after, that we're hungering after, and we can't ever get to the carrot. No, when we hunger and we thirst for it, what He puts in front of us, He wants us to get it. He wants us to have that carrot. He promises to fill us with what we are going after in God. So go after it. Get hungry, get thirsty. Don't let things steal your hunger and your thirst. Don't feed on other junk that's going to steal your ability to hunger and thirst. If you're saying, I really don't know that I hunger and thirst, it might mean because you have other things you're feeding off of. I think of, and this is just one example, but I think entertainment can be something that steals our hunger and thirst. It's like we're gorging out on junk food. And when we do that, we don't hunger and thirst for the broccoli in our life, for the good things. So maybe if you're saying, I don't feel that kind of hunger and thirst spiritually, I would encourage you to maybe look and say, what am I feeding myself that is keeping me from being hungry and thirsty? It's like parents, you don't give your kids a snack an hour before dinner because then they won't eat their dinner. And so we may need to remove some things that are filling us up with things that are not going to drive us toward the things of God. So that might be something that you need to look at. What am I feeding off of that's keeping me from hungering and thirsting after the things of God? And you might be surprised. You might be surprised. It's kind of like when a nutritionist asks you to journal your food. what you've been eating in a day. You think, oh, I don't eat all that many calories. I don't eat all that. And then you find, oh, I had a bite here and I had a bite here. And suddenly you realize, oh my goodness, I did not realize what I had been feeding myself. You may need to do a bit of spiritual journaling to recognize and take a look at what you're feeding off of. So fasting, cutting off those things so that it's not filling you may immediately begin to create hunger that you can then satisfy with the things of God. So don't be discouraged if that's you. Let me tell you, it doesn't take long to not be eating food to quickly get hungry and thirsty. So when we begin to cut off those things we've been feeding off of, it does not take long for hunger and thirst for God to get stirred up in us as we then begin to feed off of his word, feed off of his presence and worship. It won't take long, and suddenly you'll realize, I can't get enough of God. I can't get enough of his ways. And you'll be surprised. So be encouraged in that it doesn't take much to stir. So this week, go out and stir up some hunger and thirst after the things of God and just see how he meets you and fills you in that place. Have a blessed week.